everyone to this great anniversary today. We will listen to some of the leaders in the world of the Future Lab generation, and it's 20th years anniversary of Skandia Future Lab. And you have followed this ongoing webinars for the last 4 years. We do it almost every week, and we try to find out the pioneers of this knowledge base, and especially they who try to build a great future for the great majority of people. And Leif Edvinsson is one of the pioneers there, so I think he can maybe first tell a little bit about yourself, and then we take the role here with people, and we build from that. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Leif.
Thank you, Bert-Ola. I'm very honored and very happy and for all you to join me today in this anniversary of Skandia Future Lab or Future Center. I have always been very curious about the future and what's around the corner, and perhaps this is something that, as I say sometimes, I share with Leonardo da Vinci. Both of us were left-handed, and I know that some in this hand is also left-handed. So I think that is a prerequisite, perhaps, for further conversation to see how you are using both hands for the future.
Excellent. Mette is coming up here as the second on the road, so you should be to the left of Leif from your side. So maybe you could tell about what you are doing and who you are.
Did you say Mette?
Mette?
Yes, that's me. I'm sorry, I'm not on the camera.
Yeah, but we can still hear you.
Can you hear me well? I was hoping. I wanted to say that some 20 years ago, I did a workshop with Leif at Skandia's Future Center in Vaxholm, and it changed my life. I decided to walk out from Ernst & Young, big global international consulting, and be an entrepreneur. And today, some 4 or 5 Future Center imitations later, we are building in Copenhagen the Copenhagen Blocks, which is supposed to be the world lighthouse for architecture and design.
Excellent. So looking forward to hear more about this in a short time. We also have a guest from the very far ahead from Sweden, Noburo from Japan. So hopefully you can hear us and we can hear you. Welcome. Noburo, can you hear us?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, I have a little problem with the hearing. Actually, some echoing. But can you hear me?
Perfect.
Very good.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Kono, and I've known Leif since I think the beginning of this century. And actually, I'm a researcher on knowledge creation and innovation. And Leif taught me a lot about how we use future centers or for knowledge creation. And a couple of years, we have been leading an organization called the Future Center Studies Group. And last year, we made it into a new organization named the Future Center Alliance Japan, thanks to Leif. And it's now a proper non-profit organization by the Japanese law. And we have about 30 companies and the universities and non-profits who have or run future centers or future center-like places, innovation centers, living labs, etc. So we are happy to announce that we have just finished our guidebook for the Future Center Alliance Japan called Wise Place, which I shared its draft with Leif just a couple of hours ago. And if you like, I'd like to share with you only for internal use because it's an on-sealer construction. And I will bring the kind of final translated version next week to Amsterdam. So thank you, everyone, and nice to see you.
Looking forward to hear more about that. We move to Paul Iske, who I had the honor to see last week in Oslo. It was really interesting. So maybe you could make a short introduction of what you do, and we can hear more later. Paul, are you there?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
And I was expecting that I was not the next one on the row, so I was patiently waiting for my turn. Yes, my name is Paul Iske. I also am very happy to know Live for quite some years. I think it's about 15 years now. And I have been active as the developer and manager of the Dialogues House, which was the Future Center of ABN AMRO. It was not really a Future Center. Live, I'm very interested in the future, but I'm also interested in the outside world. What I always try to connect is the outside with the organization itself, and to connect to the future. So that is what I try to achieve also with the Dialogues House, to bring in the external world to our own environment, and to connect and to engage in the dialogue. Indeed, my training is in theoretical physics, so I'm a systems thinker, systems scientist. Currently, I'm a professor on open innovation. Just wrote a book about combinatoric innovation, which I think is a very important concept for both future centers and Dialogues House type of concepts, because I think that a lot of new insights, new developments, a lot of new developments, including things like value creation, peace, will depend on people to be able to connect and to combine. So what I study is the environments that support this process. This is about it. I also work on concepts related to impact investing, knowledge management, all these things that Live also are very familiar with, and also from Amsterdam. Here's the jury of Amsterdam. Congratulations with 20 points on the 20 years for the Skandia Future Center.
Thank you.
Awesome, and I can hear we have a lot of common interest in impact investing. We go to, I think we go to, okay.
Maybe I can add one thing I just forgot, because I also am a developer, founder of two institutes. One is the Institute of Brilliant Failures, which celebrates everyone who tries to get out and to try something new. And the other one is the Institute of Serious Optimism, where I hope to make a small contribution to the world's O factor, with the optimism, or if you want, the opmuntering factor. So that's it. Now I'm done.
First, more. So next here we have Ron.
So I'm currently in Israel, but on Thursday I will fly to Amsterdam.
Huh?
Yeah, to the Open Innovation Conference and Social Innovation Camp, etc.
Wow.
As I'm a visual guy, I still remember that I saw a poster in Skandia Future Center with the words, the future as an asset. And gradually, during the last 17 years since then, I'm trying to understand what it means and trying to put it into action in my work. As you know, it wouldn't harm us if we would do it also on the political level in Israel. So I might soon start to try to do something about that. I'm very involved with the Future Center Alliance, which started some good years ago, but is just at the beginning. So you will hear more about it later in the coming months. And I put a link in the chat.
Yeah, great. You can always share the links in the chat here, and we collect them after if you just come up with something. We go to Simon. I hope I pronounce it correctly. And speak loud.
Okay, loud enough?
I think it's good.
Okay, good. From the Netherlands too, and it was a few years ago that I met Life in the Future. While I was still developing the Future Center for Local Governments, and I've been running that one for a few years, and we closed it a few years ago also, when it was just done, when it became more like a trick, so we found out we had to do something new. Since then, I kept my work. I think we are in the future, and there needs to be some connecting work to be done, and I think that's why I am on Earth. And I can do that in every place, on every assignment. I love to do it, and it's not work, it's being a future center. And since almost a year, I'm the manager in a construction future center, which is very interesting, because talking about the future, I think the construction business has to catch up very much. So I'm learning a lot, because my favorite environment is more talking about culture, and here everything is about structure. So it's very interesting in my own learning process to combine those culture, strategy with more structure, also the language. And I'm connected to ULab, so working together with Presencing Institute in bringing also education and spirituality into our work to develop healthy, sustainable, and happy futures.
Brilliant.
And
That's
part of the FCA together with Ron, and I'm happy it just begun.
And Leif and Noburo and many others.
Yes.
great. Okay, we have Edward here. You have come in and out here several times.
Hello, yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? This is my third computer I'm trying.
Yeah, that's great.
How many do you have?
Okay, that's working then. Just a quick introduction. First of all, heart congratulations to Leif, who has so many people over the last 2 decades and more. I met Leif when he was back in 2000, when I think he was spending most of his time in the stratosphere, and then came down to land at Heathrow for about an hour. And in that time, we futurized and together created the Centre, the Knowledge Management Research Institute and Forum at Henley Management College. And it is still going very strong after 7 years. So there was obviously something. My current interest, I'm a professor in, or visiting professor at Lancaster University in management. Background is as a physicist, in fact, and I've now decided to do something rather different, and that is looking at the impact of nature on people. And so I've recently founded the National Park Research Centre, which is looking at innovation and governance and also community capital and social innovation, both in national parks and also in city green spaces. Similar issues and problems, and that's why they sit together very. So I'm potentially collaborating or even joining the Future Centre Alliance, because that's what we're doing here, and I'm looking at setting up a part of the Future Centre for smart parks, sitting within smart cities, but smart parks. And I would very much welcome the opportunities for collaboration.
Wow,
One of the problems that we have had in this part of the world has been tremendous flooding. You might have heard about the flooding in December in northwest England.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm now working with the flood minister. It's so important that the government has actually appointed a flood minister, and working with over 100 different organisations in the county of Cumbria. And one of the very, very clear problems and issues these different organisations have is thinking about the future. The conversations tend to be completely at cross purposes, people coming from different paradigms. Many people, particularly the physicists, will understand that people's holistic nature of the future. And this, of course, is one of the values of using scenario planning and scenario thinking. So this is all very much at ground zero, and I'm also going to Amsterdam Urban Innovation Conference, so I hope to meet those of you who will be there. And that was very much actually Leif's inspiration, and I'm delighted to say that Leif has actually agreed to be quite active in the National Park Future Centre, as looking forward to that as well.
fantastic to hear all this from people to nature and different geographies and the spread that has taken on over the last 20 years. So maybe Leif, you who initiated this, can give a brief background to how it started and your ideas.
Yes, I'm happy to do that, and I'm very grateful for you to join today. And we are recording this into a YouTube format, so we can go back and revisit brilliant comments and also the combinatoric opportunities from all your contributions. And to go back a little bit, there are some things to pick up. I do it very shortly. But 20 years ago, we started on the 17th of May, and today it is the National Day of Norway, as you know. So it's a very unique day, which we can talk later on. But perhaps some of you also remember the very soft dimensions of the Future Center, which was the smell of it. And the smell of tar, and the smell of freshly baked bread. But that might be on the surface, because there are a deeper dimension, which I started to look into, because one evening when I was driving back home from the Future Center in Vaxholm, after about 10 hours there, I started to sense that how come that I have more energy now than when I came this morning. So after 10 hours at workplace, you had more energy than when you entered into it. And I think this led to some aha initially, but it also led to a curiosity to start to search for how do we design the workspaces to get a kind of multiplier for the brain power. And that led to that the Future Center really was a lab for organizational capital. Today we know that part of that is called mirroring neurons. Mirroring neurons, the flow, not the flood, but the flow of good ideas between brains. And I'm very curious to see if we could combine that into next step. So the Future Center, which we formed, was a kind of space for intelligence that we heard from Paul earlier, but it's also related to the issue of navigation. And today it's even more important to navigate the intangible dimensions, if it's a park or if it's an IT company or a nation. So we are sitting upon unique experiences together. And some of that is summarized by, among others, Ron in this book. But I think we can do much more along the lines of tangibilizing the recipes. So I'm very happy to see that we have so many followers, and these 30 companies in Japan are probably a key to the future as well. And I really salute you for your label of it, the wise place. The wise place. So Bert-Ola and I are actually right now in the process of working with how to come up with an app for increasing the wisdom of people. To have it, just imagine, to have an app for it. With that, I'm going to hand the mic back to Bert-Ola, but the next step is probably about how to work with the serious optimism that Paul was mentioning, and the future as an asset. And just to give you a hint, there are emerging not only parks, but also peace innovation labs. And I think if we combine those, we are on the edge to something extremely important. Park and peace, and perhaps another P. We will see. So with that, I wish you a happy future, and thank you for joining me today.
Peace and parks, that's peace parks.
Yes.
Innovation around it. But I think there we could take everyone in the row here, but Ron, maybe you could elaborate a bit more on the book you shared there in the event page. It looks really interesting, and tell about that project. Can you hear us, Ron?
You muted him.
Yes, you need to unmute because.
Okay. Okay. So,
mute your microphone when you're not speaking because it's an echo in the background.
So, is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Several years ago, a group of about 30 people thought it might be an interesting exercise to run around Europe for 2 years and just learn about future centers and try to capture both the essence, the why, but also the mechanics, the spirit, the trick and secrets, what makes them successful, what makes them get into difficulties, the life cycle of them, and this is what we did. And fortunately, the European Commission was either wise enough or stupid enough to fund this 2 years journey. And among other things, we articulate what we learned in a very big book. About it weight about 1 kilo. And 200
no, it's more, 1.2. The same
Yes.
same weight as your brain.
Yes, and we call it the operating system because we thought it might help people, you know, to have the first step into understanding what it is. It doesn't replace going to the real places, and you know, all of us already told the stories of the first visit to Skandia, which made a big impact on our lives. So this is what we did, and now it's available. And in the Facebook, I put a link to one of the chapters, which and also in the Google Doc, which talks about scenarios for the future of future centers, 10 alternative possibilities. And it would be interesting to look back and see if those models actually happened, if nowadays nothing is relevant and we need to invent a new one, but you're welcome to look and see for yourself. So you will see it in Google Doc and Facebook.
That's great. It would be nice to hear about what some of the outcomes and learnings in the book there, but maybe Paul could tell a little bit about this brilliant failures, and for people who didn't have the opportunity to see you last week in Oslo, it was a really engaging presentation you gave there. So maybe that could fit well into this.
Sure, with pleasure. Now, like I said, I was running this Dialogues House, which was also our center for open, radical, and sustainable innovation. And when you look at environments that support people in being involved in this type of activities, you sometimes ask yourself, what does stop people from being that type of social and energetic entrepreneur? And in many organizations, in many environments, I rather talk about environments, you see that people have some fear. Fear for trying to do something that might fail, and fear for talking about things when things did fail. So we did some studies, and one of them revealed that people who went bankrupt and start over again are on average more successful than the people who tried for the first time. And then you start wondering, why is that? And that is because these people have stamina, these people have learned something, and they apply that learning to their new ventures. So we said it is not only not very social to scare people for what they try to do with passion, but it is also economically not very. It doesn't make any sense because you're destroying entrepreneurial capital, you destroy human capital, you destroy intellectual capital. So why not? What can you do to reduce this double fear? And so I started this Institute of Brilliant Failures to help people to build environments where people are open for people who have a passion and want to do something without having the insurance that they will succeed, and where people are smart enough to learn. And we call this double loop learning. It's learning while doing, learn for what you do. So we set up this institute. So I'm the CFO, the Chief Failure Officer, and I help people also to build in this type of first this cultural aspects by celebrating people with interesting initiatives, but also to build in decision processes in project management, double up learning elements. So recently I handed out a prize for the most brilliant failure in healthcare. And I was now invited by the Minister of Healthcare to think about big programs that people are being subsidized. How is it? How can we make it happen that people build in upfront a method to share knowledge, not only of very good results, but especially about things they have done and things they have learned, and afterwards, how can we build an infrastructure and a culture where people are able and willing to share this knowledge. I think, by the way, this could also be very important for the European Commission. They spend hundreds of billions of euros on research, and most of the knowledge is not being tapped because people simply don't talk about it. We could even apply to ourselves. What can we learn from the failures in future centers? Let's face it, not everything that we have done is very successful. We have our great successes, but we have also learned a lot. Why not just also talk about things that we have learned that didn't work or that worked in another way that we have anticipated? So that's my little contribution, is how can we create environments, and that's beyond physical environment, and I'm very interested about this concept of parks. I think in general nature, I learned a lot from Charles Leadbeater, who made a comparison between evolution and innovation. So this type of biomimicry is also very interesting. But we could also say, why don't we start a center in the middle of the Norwegian mountains, especially on the 17th of May? But in general, I'm looking at environments and environments that generate positive energy. And I think fighting fear is a positive action, because fear, most of the times, is generating negative energy and is paralyzing people's minds. So that's my view at this moment. My perspective is, how do we create positive environments where people are open and free and energetic? Then I have always said, I don't manage what is happening. What I try to do is make contributions that things can happen, and what it is, serendipity. That's my key process. You could even call the Dialogues House or the Future Center, you could call it Serendipity House. I think the future is coming. We can prepare ourselves for the future, but we cannot predict the future. So let's create an environment where the future can happen, and let it be a positive future.
We met. What I understood, you're building a quite exciting environment in Denmark. Maybe we could explore that would fit well with Paul's ideas about positive spaces.
Yeah. What I wanted to say is, first of all, that some 20 years ago, when Life started these concepts, it was other times. It was another mental model, and the world has changed ever since. But what I find is that actually most of the work that you did, Life, and the conceptual work that you did, has lived through these decades as sustainable. So through these years, in Links, we represent the Wharton School, and we educate in strategy and leadership top executives across sectors, ministers, private, public, NGOs, whatever. And the principles are, it has to be global, it has to be diverse, and it has to be on a transparent basis where you want to co-create. So these principles we have built this concept around, and during these years I have seen, not managed, but seen many future center-like concepts come to life. And one of the significant ones that I think Life can remember is our Mind Lab, which is our policy innovation concept that is very much alive, and where the Secretary General of our Ministry of Industry, I do think some 15, 16 years ago, at INSEAD, where Life was doing a presentation, he just simply said, I want one of those.
Yes.
Very courageous, Jørgen Roster. You remember him?
Yes. Oh, yes, I do remember him.
Yes, and it is still alive. And I remember the question that you posed to him. You posted a question to him. You said, "What is the smell like in your boardroom?" And that sentence has followed me with my work. I work mostly with governance and with non-executive directors or directors and their interactions. And I do think it's one of the wisest sentences that I have ever heard, and I use indirectly all the time, because this is what things are about. How can you create this sense of construction? That is this is kind of a life sentence for me, and it's interesting that you start out your presentation by saying, "Do you remember the discussion about smell?" And I certainly do. Mm-hmm. So Mind Lab is still alive and kicking. It has an extreme power here in Copenhagen. It's very, very heavy on the complexity of the challenges that it solves. And the CEO there, his name is Christian Baton. He's now the CEO of the Danish Design Center. So we have chosen to build kind of a new hub in Copenhagen that has to do with sustainable constructions, and it's with an architectural and a design angle. And the hub partners there are Index, the world's largest design prize. I used to serve on the board when it was established. It's a design prize that rewards also conceptual designs. And I do think that someday the Future Center should apply for one of these awards. So Index is one, the Danish Design Center is one, the Danish Architectural Center, the Copenhagen Sustainable Solutions, and then Links, my company, we are the hub partners in this new, what we call the Copenhagen blocks. And the CEO there is actually a former colleague of mine, Torben Leif.
Yeah.
We pushed him into that position, and we hope to have a good performance there. So we are indirectly building it, but somebody else has the responsibility, and that is our largest foundation called Dania here in Copenhagen. Yes. Yeah. Now I want to invite all of you for our opening. The official opening will be the 3rd of June here in Copenhagen, and I'll make sure that we get the invitation distributed. And the purpose of this is to create a sustainable place that has a constructive perspective on how design and architecture impacts on people and their performance. And of course, it's supposed to be a lighthouse on the Danish very kind of solid brand that we have in these areas anyway. And it's a Dutch architect that built the house, since we have so many here from Holland. It's Rem Koolhaus who who has. I did send you some pictures, Brent, but I couldn't get them uploaded. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm laying here in my bed. So I sent you some photos in your email. But what the idea about this is that we are building what we would call a future center. Us oldies, we have seen it. We know what it is about. And I see people on an ongoing basis struggling with finding these concepts. And I'm often kind of asking myself, why on earth are people not aware of this piece of work that has been done? So my point here is that I'm very impressed with the Japanese. I remember the Japanese strategy from way back, 20 years back, when I met you the first time live, and I remember you went out there and how very sustainable Japan has been in their actions. But that may be the only country, and maybe on the second place is the Dutch initiatives, and maybe somewhere down there Copenhagen is with the Mind Lab. It is actually sustainable. But I would very much love to see this book of 1.2 brain kilos really have the opportunity of coming out there, using some classic marketing applications that we don't normally use. None of us are marketeers. We are innovators and content people, but we should really hook up, or you should really hook up and getting these concepts out there. They are much in demand. back then, 20 years, still now. That was all from Copenhagen. Thanks.
Thank you. Very
Thank
good.
you. We have Simon and Noburo, and then I think we can open there's a lot of interesting stuff being told here, so we can take it from there. But Simon, would you like to comment or add something there?
Yeah, I'm not very clear yet, but I can. There's something emerging that I do not sharply see or understand or hear. But it triggers me that I have been hearing things about, Paul, you were mentioning about fighting fear and focus on the positivity. And then I was thinking about what is then the spirit of the Future Center? What is what we all have in common? And it is about that. And then we talk about nature. What is nature doing with us? What does nature support us in being or in doing that is helping us? And then you start to talk about smell. How does it smell? And what does the sense of smelling something good do to you? And then back to nature and to fear. And then I was thinking, is becoming some kind of my red line. That the impact of fear in all its phases is so many times stopping us from helping the things that need to be born. Fear is stopping us, and for me, the next level in future centers is about that theme. What happens if maybe it's not about fighting fear, but maybe we should start loving fear. It must melt somehow, and I think that's what we have in our capacity, is that we bring this positiveness, and it's not about fighting, but we really can make fear melt. And what happens if the fear dissolves? I think that opens the door to the future. And somewhere between all this knowledge we have about technical stuff and organizing and the simpleness of being just in a park that can be so supporting in finding the right solution, hosting the good dialogue, how can we host this safety, positive safety that can open the door to the future? That is, I don't know if that was the question you asked me, but that is what I needed to add.
Very good.
Wow, wonderful. Noburo, maybe you seem to do a lot there in Japan and building these wise places. Is it something you would like to add there?
Well, I'd like to share the works we have done, that they are following the Ron's big, huge book that we have just created, just 50 grams, small one, called, can you see, the Wise Place?
Oh.
Yeah, Wise Place. Wow. It's about we summarized our experiences in Japan these couple of years, about how to use these places for innovation, which is the innovation accelerating environments. And here we include not only future centers, but innovation centers and the living labs. The idea is that we learn from Leif about these functions of the spaces, but we try to combine them into a model, meaning we tend to think about future centers as a space for our open innovation for various stakeholders. And whereas innovation center is where so future centers, we get hypothesis in a way. And based on that hypothesis, we create the prototypes at the innovation centers, and then we test and co-create the business's ideas through living labs. So these three places kind of go around as a cycle. And this is just kind of functional, kind of a illustration of how we try to use these places. This is guidebook for that. But the meaning of the title Wise Place is not that only, is that the question is, do we have place of wisdom in our organization or in the society? meaning the future center is not just a functional space, but some place in the organization or the society where we can elaborate or let our wisdom emerge. That's the sense we try to put in this book. So I'm also going to Amsterdam next week. So if we have a chance, you can get the Japanese version and the draft English version, which Leif have part of it, in Amsterdam if we see each other. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yes, great. I think I will leave the word open there to you now. We had some brilliant.
I can start with giving you an illustration of what Noburo just said. At one point, we had a visit from the Minister of Industries in Sweden. He came and he was extremely stressed. He had at least 2 handheld phones with him in operation at the same time as he was entering out of the car, where he had another dialogue sitting. So he was multitasking on an extremely high level, and he could really not stand still, actually. It took roughly 15 minutes for him to change the rhythm of his behavior into a wise rhythm. So that's why I'm extremely interested in the wise, the place of wisdom, or the wise place. How do you design a place that helps you to pick up the deeper dimensions? And I think the Ba of Japan has been one of the early prototypes that you have been working on, Noburo. And now when you combine it with living labs and future centers and open innovation, we are on the edge. And I would like to see very much the application of this to peace, because we need to be much more innovative than having conversations of peace like the ones going on around the world right now. So how do we apply some of these wisdoms that has emerged during the last 20 years? And we just heard very, very good inputs, and I'm very grateful for you to be here. So let's move on and turn it into this positive dimension of intelligence that Paul was touching upon. And we have a tremendous network. I don't think you are aware of that. Bert-Ola is just a node with roughly 12,000 people in the node. So there is a lot of application places.
Basically, we see Haris joining from India, who is part of this network, and where we try to build more from the grassroots and some new upcoming innovations there. So maybe you could share something of what you are doing there.
Hello everyone, a very good evening from India, and here's a lot of big things that are happening with us. We have many people working on many of the issues, but the situation here is that people are not really caring about the nature. They forget that nature is the thing that really matters. The only thing that people are concerned about is getting into this mechanical life and leading it all, but no one is caring about the future of the planet, and no one is caring on the trees and deforestation. All these things are happening a lot in India, and the economic is also, India is basically an agricultural nation, and most of the things are based on agriculture itself. But the problem that we are facing nowadays is all the agricultural lands being turned down into real estates and all that stuff. So people are like, there is a drastic change that has happened in the last 2 decades, and the ideology of the people and is completely changed. It was either manipulated by the politics of that is being happening here, or it is being done by the people, or there are very few people who are putting their heads into the into the topics of creating a very good future for the planet. When we are missing the foundation that we are going to uh, give for the future generations to grow up on this planet is messing up here. The thing that always hurts me a lot, and for that we are doing something like, I had a couple of organizations working on with the sustainability, like planting the trees and notice making the notice boards on the trees, like don't cut down the trees and all that. We had managed to organize a lot of events in order to bring out an awareness in the people who are present in the rural areas and in the local parts of the India. I'm basically concerned in the southern part of the India rather than the northern part of India, because I don't have that much good network to go on to the northern part of India, because India is a vast country and we have a lot of thousands of languages, and it's all like a diversified thing. So it's like we concentrated on the thing, like uh, first of all we concerned on the surroundings, and then we are spreading it out, spreading the message to everyone around the world, around our we are thereby increasing the diameter and spreading out the news to everyone, and bringing out awareness and making it all possible. We indeed do who help the people who are in need, and we also provide the digital education for the local uh, people, like local kids who are not able to get the quality education in their areas. And we are being employing a number of uh, engineers, like who are graduated from the colleges, and they are going to the local remote areas, and they are teaching the children in the schools and everything, and educating them to progress in the right ways, because education is the only tool that can bring out the change, that can bring out a lot of change. That's what we believe, and we are working on all this stuff.
That's great.
That's from my side, Bert.
Yeah, but it's great. I think that is also where we could build some kind of future centers. How could these future centers be in the villages of India or Pakistan or Bangladesh or Nepal and many other countries where we have a lot of communities, community organizers? I leave the word open to you. I think it could be a bit self-organized. You can continue for 15, 20 minutes. It's up to you here. But do you have something you would like to add? You can just raise your hand there. And
I had a little proposal. I'm very happy that you picked up on this positive energy point. And we were talking about all the great centers that have been developed over the world. Japan have been mentioned, and of course, first of all, the Skandia Future Center, and many more of them. The book of Ron, that is very much sharing a lot of knowledge about this center. So I think, well, indeed, we have something very important that we should really be proud of. I was wondering, I was talking a little bit about this Institute of Serious Optimism, and we have developed one tool, and it is called Aptimism. It's an app that you can download for almost all platforms for mobile phones, and it is a tool to map more or less the circumstances where people do get positive energy. And what we could do is I also developed a kind of certification process. Why not certify all the future centers as what we call O-zones? And one way of doing that is by storytelling, and one way of storytelling is this app, so that people can ask the visitors, the people who work there, the people who manage the institutes, people who have any relationship with the future centers. Why not ask them to tell their story about the future centers? And one tool, like I said, they could use is this app, and then our ambition could be that next year we will have a kind of celebration of future centers as the O-zones of the world, and that they can also learn other environments to build this positive energy. Now, it's just an idea, but we have the tool available, so it could be interesting to see whether we could practice what we preach, more or less.
Sounds good.
Yes, and a part of that could actually be that the YouTube from this conversation is uploaded on the Optimist.
Yes, we can. Yeah, yeah. So we have the site. We have also a site that you can look at. It is optimism.eu. An app is with double P. Yeah, it's like an app and an optimism. But again, you can download it for all your devices. And again, it's a great tool to share and the serious part is that is twofold. First of all, it gives positive energy based on something that really has some background. There's there's some understanding, some thinking about where does this positive energy come from. That's one. And second, this positive energy has some impact on people's behavior, on customer loyalty, on intelligence, on future thinking, on health, on teaching or learning performance or sport performance. So it is something that can really be supported by thinking, and secondly, it has tangible impact. That is for us serious optimism. And I think the future centers have their impact, and it has been well thought. So they really directly qualify for this approach.
We will do it. Great.
Could I come in with a question?
Yes, yes.
Just to say that I would very much like to. Sorry, is that all right, Bert-Ola? I would very much like to talk to you about this optimism, maybe separately, because that's one of the things I'm looking at with the project for designating London a nationality. And we are looking at the hundreds of thousands of initiatives around the city, and we're looking at the bank of good ideas, which we can then circulate more openly and encourage diffusion and dissemination of these ideas. Actually, for Leif and one or two others, I'm rather taken about the concept of the Institute of Failure. And around us here with 20 or 30 years or more in collaboration with policy makers, one of the things that I have observed is very much ignored as an asset. That's made a lot earlier on. Some of the initiatives that both Leif and I have worked on in intangible asset reporting. And the British government in particular, because pressure from the truth is a major. I wonder whether to look at some of the failed policy at the top level have resulted from this lack of future realization of the future.
For me, it was not a very clear message, but I do believe I got the essence, and I think we could really apply the method indeed to that type of environment.
And you can also combine it with the learnings from MindLab that Mette mentioned, because I think there is so much in the learning of the process of political entrepreneurship in MindLab.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even at the Ministry of Defense, they're now becoming interested in this concept of brilliant failure. So you see, there's a really somebody said, "Life, you have started something 20 years ago, and it is still it is still very much alive." With the brilliant failures, it is something that has to grow into acceptance, and I think we'll be approaching that stage. So yeah, I think timing for many things that we have discussed today is the right one, and I'm happy to collaborate on that.
Me too, and I think we have to round off, Bert-Ola. We have spent an hour on this, and brilliant combinatoric illustrations of good thoughts, and I'm extremely grateful for that you showed up and shared your positive energy for the Future Center and I think it's called optimism, and that is something that we need in Europe right now. So I look forward to apply more of it together, and I will be in Amsterdam on Sunday as well, so we can continue the conversation in a few days again.
Very good.
Happy future.
Well, welcome to Amsterdam, every one of you.
Happy future, and we will also continue with these webinars if you would like to check in. Already on Friday, we will do a webinar in Copenhagen on impact measurement, and we are preparing for the whole summer to build a type of optimism space around the North Europe, and around we have big festivities called Almedalen, and Norway and Denmark and Finland and other places where we want to build digital bridges and meeting places and show what's going on there. So hopefully we can build this type of optimization space and connect into what you're doing.
And as Bert-Ola and I was chatting about, this will be done in the shadow of the sunset of the midnight sun in the Nordic territories.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank
happy
you so much.
future. I have to finish now. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. The video will be uploaded here in on the event page, and I send it also on email. So see you, and happy Tuesday.
Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye.